allowing for everyone else to join. Good evening. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your evening, this very early evening, to sit with us and go through this new EDPM material. And thank you also, Dr. Peters Richardson, for taking the time as well to deliver on it. We are really, really genuinely grateful for it. And I hope that everyone that is here today will be able to walk away with a bit more knowledge and understanding of the upgrades based on the new CSEC syllabus that has been incorporated into this new revised, or rather second edition, new edition of EDPM. Now, my name is Alex Holder. I am from Macmillan Education. I am responsible for Barbados with support for the OECS as well. And I get the pleasure of sitting with everyone today and introducing Dr. Jacqueline Peters Richardson, who has been an educator for over 35 years, to my understanding, just a tad bit shy of me being born. And she, on the academic side, she holds a diploma in business administration and accounting from UTEC in Jamaica, and Bachelor of Science in business education from Skidmore College. Oh my goodness. She also has a Master of Arts in technology and learning design. I didn't know learning how to design, but I'm learning. From Roehampton University in London, and she is also a Doctor of Education in Educational Change and Leadership from UNICAF University. Dr. Peters Richardson would have taught CSEC business courses at the secondary level for over 30 years. So of the 35 years, 30 of it was teaching, youngsters like me how to manage myself and to get through life. Her extensive work in education includes working with educational content and resources similar to what I do. I aspire to be you when I grow up. And resources for Commonwealth and Learning, as well as CXE. And she also provides content for Oxford Publishing, as well as yours truly, Macmillan Education. At this stage, I would love to hand over the room, or rather the floor, to Dr. Peters Richardson, who will take it from here. Important to note, everyone, before you continue, Doc, it's important to note that everyone attending today will receive a certificate of attendance, as well as 1 month free e-sample code for the book. This will follow via an email that will be sent out at the end of the webinar. And everyone will also get a code for the free online teachers resources. So just be so yes, everybody gets a little bit of goodies today. And at the end of the webinar, we will be shortly thereafter making it live, or rather available on YouTube. Doc, the floor is yours.
All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you from Macmillan for this opportunity to share with you the new updates on the CSEC syllabus, and of course, the new CSEC EDPM book from Macmillan Education. Our session today is going to look at the changes, some of the changes that have happened in this new syllabus. We're going to be looking at an overview of the key content and updates and the structural changes, providing guidance on how to manage the SBA assessment, and also providing some tips in how to do instructional techniques that promote learner-centered approach. One of the new thing with this EDPM syllabus, and it has been evolving over the years, is that we are looking at CSEC is looking to make sure that the learners are the focus of the examination, of the assessment, of the teaching. The focus is no longer on the teachers indicating what they know or what they think the students should know, but is moving towards the era where the students are supposed to demonstrate, given the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge and have greater control of what it is that they learn. So first, we're going to be looking at some of the key changes that have occurred in the syllabus. First, we're looking at the rationale. Now, the previous syllabus do speak to some of these rationales, incorporating the ideal Caribbean person based on the UNESCO 5 pillars of learning. Now, when we talk the 5 pillars of learning, we're talking about the students being able to demonstrate what they know. They're supposed to be able to do it. They're supposed to be able to live that knowledge. Also, live in an environment where they foster building oneself up and building their society as well. It also provides an opportunity, a little bit more integration of the 21st century skills. So students are now being pushed more to be critical thinkers, to be creative, to be collaborators, to communicate, to be digital literate, and also to be flexible. All right. So those are some of the new components that have come up within the new EDPM syllabus when we look at the rationale and the aims and objectives of the new syllabus. We also looking at certification. The certification is not only geared towards the CSEC EDPM exam, but is also shifting a bit to look at competency-based learning as well. Now, over the years, and maybe in my era for sure, we focus a lot on theory and rote learning and memorizing things. But in this era, we're looking at persons being able to gathering a skill and able to demonstrate what they know, not only recite it, but able to do it as well. Now, this is focused on students who have completed the component of the CSEC EDPM, the CSEC EDPM syllabus, would have completed the competency that would allow them to attempt the level 1 Caribbean vocational qualification in data operations. So those territories that do CVQ, once the students would have completed that, the EDPM syllabus, they would have enough competency, should have built enough competency to attempt the level 1 Caribbean vocational qualification in data operation. And that's the way the world is going now, looking at competency and not necessarily knowledge base. It's not so much about what you know, but how you demonstrate what you know. All right. So we look at another key change, of course, is the mark scheme. How marks are being awarded for the different components of the syllabus. We're accustomed to have been marked out of for accuracy and speed, knowledge and comprehension, and presentation use of technology. Well, now the mark scheme is now looking at knowledge and comprehension remains. We now have application and interpretation and analysis. And that the new profile for grading or assessing is moving towards showing competency. All right, so you have to apply the knowledge that you have, and you must be able to be critical thinkers to be able to interpret scenarios or questions that you're provided and interpret and analyze it and come up with your final output by demonstrating what it is that you know. So for the paper 1, it's still awarded 60 marks, but this time it's broken down with 35 for knowledge and comprehension, 15 for application, and 10 for interpretation and analysis. For the paper 2, it's now 20 for knowledge and comprehension, 80 for application, and 20 for interpretation and analysis. And then we also have the paper 3, 10 for knowledge and comprehension, 70 for application, and 15 for interpretation and analysis. Now the paper 1 and the paper 3-2 would be online administered. Now, different territories may have different challenges with that, but I guess your local registrar will work out between your institution and CSEC how that works for your particular territory. But the aim is for paper 1 to be administered online and paper 3-2 to be administered online as well. We also now have to look at the school-based assessment, which is 40% of the overall grade. And it's broken down where we have 2 components, the research component, which would be 40% of that overall okay, let me rephrase that. The total grades to be awarded for the assessment is 100%. 60% come from the written papers. So the paper 1 and the paper 2 will make up 60% of the grade. The school-based assessment will make up 40% over the overall grade that a student can receive. Of the 40% allotted to the school-based assessment, 40% of that is towards the research paper and 60% towards the portfolio. So you see on the screen here how that is broken down. We have the comprehension, knowledge and comprehension, 5%, 5 marks to the research, 10 to the portfolio. Application, 40 to the research, 55 to the portfolio. And interpretation analysis, 15 research and 20 for the portfolio. A total of 60 marks for the research and 85 marks for the portfolio. So what are some of the content changes? Most of what was in the previous syllabus is back. We did some minor changes and upgrades in how those objectives are written. You will find, if you compare both the previous syllabus and this new one, you will find out that you'll see that the level of the objectives have been changed to a bit to focus on more higher level objectives that will encourage critical thinking, requiring learners to analyze, evaluate, and create rather than just recall information. So there have been a focus now to more higher level objectives. It also includes additional teaching resources. It has provided teachers with some key ideas that allow you, that you can use in your classroom to foster a learner-centered environment, and also to give you some ideas in the way where the new content come up or where you're not too sure. It provides some additional teaching resources to assist you in delivering the content and to ensuring that your students grasp the content and are able to demonstrate that content as well. In that also is some teaching activities as well. So there's additional resources and additional teaching activities. And I would encourage you to take a look at the resources and the activities. Some of them are, most of them are very interesting. It's some of you may be using some of these activities and resources already in your classroom, but you may be able to get some new ideas. So take some time and look at the resources. When you're teaching any unit, look at the resources and the activities that are available there for those units. Also, not only in the syllabus, but in the new Macmillan education text as well, they also provide some good guidance on how you can achieve success, how your students can achieve success for the EDPM as well. I also encourage you to use web-based resources. Normally, we are accustomed to using a Microsoft Suite as the main resources that we can use for the production tools, as production tools. You are encouraged to use other web-based resources as well. Person talk about Canva, Adobe, whatever other resources that you can use, you are allowed. Once it meets the specification and you produce the documents or the outcomes are produced at the required standard of the CSEC syllabus. The school-based assessment, 40% of the overall assessment grade, as I said previously. It has two components, the portfolio and the research. And as I indicated earlier, 40% for the research paper, 60% for the portfolio. The only new section that we have in this new syllabus is section 8, document management. It's not completely new. It's just a shift of where certain things were, certain topics were included in the previous sections have now been changed. I think the biggest change there is the focus on ethical standards, and that must be encouraged or developed within our students. So I think that's one of the greatest things that you'll see here in the section 8, document management. So let's look at some key things there. Is use how to use data processing, electronic filing systems, cyber and physical and cyber security are some of the main features that you're going to find in this chapter, in this section, sorry. You can find good details, a wealth of information in chapter 16 of the Macmillan EDPM text on page 267, sorry, you'll see more information on this particular unit or section of the syllabus. I think that section, they do cover all the components of the syllabus as required by CSEC. We're looking at the research project now. I think this one now is where I believe most persons have the greatest challenge. It's a little different from what we're accustomed to for EDPM. Those of you who teach office administration or principle of business, you would be familiar with a research project. Now, it's a new area here for CSEC. They're trying to incorporate some measure of research where possible in all of the school-based assessment, the majority, if not all. Now, the research project is 1,000 words. The maximum 1,000. Now, that does not include that word count, don't include the charts or the graphs or the questionnaires, your appendix of the research. It consists of the body of the research itself, 1,000 words, which means we're not trying to get the students to write a whole book. It's a basic introduction to research to introduce them how research is done. Group, yes, they can be done. The SB can be done in group, but the group size is no more than 3 members. Now, as the teacher delivering this course, I would suggest that before you go to your class or before you start teaching, you make sure the students, especially with the SBA, make sure that the students are familiar with the mark scheme, that you yourself, first of all, is familiar with the mark scheme and how marks are allocated. Then you make sure you review that with your students. So from the go, sit with you first in your first class, your first SBA class, sit with them, go through the mark scheme with them, go through what is required of them. From the very beginning, give them a copy of the outline, give them a copy of the mark scheme, so they'll be able to independently follow what is required of them. They don't need to come back to you to ask, well, teacher, how much marks I'm going to get for this? Teacher, should I include? You go through it with them for the very first class, soon after, and afterwards let them be responsible to get it done with your guidance, of course. They being responsible do not mean that you're going to leave them alone to get it done and submit it at the end. It simply means that you're at this side answering their questions, allowing them answer, and before you outright answer their questions, someday you have to ask a question with a question to get them thinking. Right? So they may ask you a particular question, well, teacher, how many marks is awarded for the research? And your response to that can simply be, what did the syllabus say? How many marks, especially if you have given them the syllabus? We have to get them in the mode of finding answers out for themselves without us providing them all the answers. So that is one way you're going to start training them to discover things on their own. As I indicated, dedicate time specifically for SBA. Now, I know that the time many of us that are allotted for the course or to teaching this subject may not meet the requirement as specified by CSEC. I know that's a cry across many countries. CSEC specified, I think it's 440 or 40-minute periods. Many of us don't get that time allotted within the week. However, we have to be very skillful and tight on how we manage that time. But in all of that, I would highly recommend that at least one 30-minute, 40-minute period within the week is allotted to the SBA. Whichever semester, whichever term you decide to start the SBA in, have that one where the students can have time to ask questions, time to dedicate into doing the assignments. Somehow, very often I find that students are sent home to do it. When that happens, we're often not too sure that the student have completed the work on their own, so that they actually know what to do. Often, when we do that as well, we're not able to monitor to give them guidance on where they're going wrong. So I would strongly recommend that you give at least 30 minutes, 40 minutes in a week, or whatever allotted time you have during that SBA period to begin to allocate to the SBA, where the focus for that period is simply the SBA. Especially now with the research project is a little bit different than what we're accustomed to do, right? Especially for that research component, you will need that time. You yourself as a teacher or the facilitator also need to be very familiar with that research project. Study it. You're not memorizing, but study to make sure you understand. If there any component of the research that you yourself are not familiar with or not quite sure, ask questions, do your own research before you go before the students to deliver to them. What you want to make sure is that the delivery that you give to your students on this project, it's meeting what is required by CSEC. Use guest facilitators where needed. If you're not sure on any component, either team teach with another colleague or bring a guest in who may be more familiar with that component of the research that you may be able to get some advice from or get some assistance from as well. So use guest facilitators as well. Incorporate web-based resources to build learners' understanding. Use video. I can tell you that one part of the research I know that I believe, I shouldn't say I know, I believe is going to be one of the most difficult part is when they talk about the type of research, whether it's a quantitative or qualitative research. It's going to be difficult for some educators who are not familiar with those terms to be able to explain to their students what it is. But we do have a lot of resources online that you can do your back-end research before the class, and you can look at websites or videos on YouTube that may help to explain it to you, and you can share that with your students as well to help them understand the difference between those terminologies, how they do their research questions, how they make sure there's a qualitative research question versus a quantitative research question. As I indicated before, share your mark scheme and the outline with the students. All right, so the content of the research, we have the statement of the topic or the research topic. We have your research questions and the context or background of that particular entity that you're researching, the purpose of doing the research, and the purpose for doing the research cannot be because of the requirement for CSEC. I have marked quite a few SBAs in my over 35 years in this system. And one of the main reasons I've seen students write as the purpose of their SBA is because it's a requirement for CSEC. That cannot be the purpose for the research. All right, the purpose of research has to be saying, why? Why is this topic on research important to me? How is it going to help me? How is it going to help my community? How is it going to help my school? What it is I want to learn? Those are the things that the purpose of the research should indicate. Methods of investigation. This is where we talk about whether it's a quantitative or qualitative research. And a further slide, I'll do a little bit more explanation on the difference between the two. All right, so we talk about the type of research here. We talk about the data collection instrument. What are we using? When do we use a questionnaire versus using a checklist versus doing an interview? Which one of these am I using? It will depend on the research method, the population. Who are the persons am I going to get information from? Am I doing it within my school compound, within my community, within my village, or at a particular business place, as a particular restaurant? Depending on what they're trying to find out, what they're researching, will dictate what the population would be and how they collect the data. Presentation of findings, they would need at least 3 to 4 graphical presentation, whether it be charts, diagrams, pictures. They need at least 3, but each presentation, each photo, every diagram that they put in or pick must come with an explanation. Discussion of the findings, analysis and interpretation of the data, recommendation and implementation strategy. So those are the key components, including your references, of course. They must be able to include citation and references in their research project. So here's another thing. You have to teach these students or guide them in creating a reference and in doing citation. All right, so that is now part of what you're going to have to deliver to them, or arrange, if you can't do it within your class, arrange for someone, a guest presenter, another teacher to do it, so that the students themselves have an idea what it means to do an in-text citation, and also what it means to write a reference, and how to write the reference correctly following the APA style. We also have the appendices. That is where you have all the extra charts, the diagram, your research instruments. Copies of that will be included in your appendices. Now, the fourth strategy is for the school-based assessment. So the first section of the school-based assessment look at the preparation for the research itself. And here I would suggest using that work plan. Allow your student in that first SBA session to sit down in the class. They can do it in groups if they're working in group or if they're working individually. Develop a work plan. The work plan should look at all the things they need to do to complete the research. So it's going to include all the items, list down all the things I need to do an interview. I need to get permission to do this research. I need all those things that they need to do to complete the research. List them. And beside each item, each activity, put a timeline for it to be completed. So if your SBA is going to be done in the first semester between September and December, for example, you may tell the students you have until the end of November to submit your research paper. You're starting in September. So when you meet them in September, you sit down, they work out a work plan. All the activities I need to complete, and a timeline. So week 1, I may decide, okay, this is where I'm writing my plan. I'm coming up with the purpose for my research, the background for my research, starting on my research questions. You help them lay out that timeline, booking appointments, getting permission to do this research, all of this, and they lay it out. Those of you who teach office administration will have some background, because within the office administration school-based assessment, there is some component that they're allowed to set out a timeline, a work plan for that particular SBA. So that's the first stage. And I would suggest that this first stage be done in the classroom so you can see. What we don't want is students going out, taking it home, mommy find somebody to do it for them, and they provide you with a very nice SBA, get the full marks, but the student absolutely no concept of how to do a research. All right, so we're running away, try to avoid just giving it to them and ask them to bring it back. The next component, the next phase or stage is identify the methods of investigation and the data collection. Now, determine the type of research, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, is important to identify the research instrument and the processes used to gather information. So they must have an understanding what is the difference between a quantitative research and a qualitative research, because it's going to impact what instruments they are able to use to gather their data and collect the quantitative data and to collect qualitative data. They need to select a sample. Now, even if they're doing the research within their school environment, they cannot do it with the whole school population. They may decide, I'm doing it within the 4th form block, the 5th form block. If they have sports houses for yellow house, for blue house, within it cannot allow them to do the whole school. It's going to be just too wide for them to do at this level. So you pick a sample that is workable for them. Encourage them to pick a sample that is workable, that is not going to require them to do 100 surveys or 100. They don't need any more than 20 instruments to come up with a data. It's a small research they're doing. Please don't have them doing more 20, 25, the max. So if they're doing questionnaires, 20 to 25 questionnaires. No more than that. All right, don't pass 25. It's going to be too wide. There's going to be too much data for them to analyze. And it's only 1,000 words. So if they can do 15, 12 questionnaires, that's fine. But please do not have them doing a whole lot. That's going to ask them to go over the word count. Presentation of the findings, as I indicated, they need to use diagrams, 3 to 4 charts, table, diagrams, present as a pictorial view of the data, accompanied by a brief description of what the chart or diagram is saying. Too many times also when I look at research paper, not only for students, but even for adults, they are doing a research. They show me a table, but there's no explanation of what the table is saying. When they show you a table, a chart, or graph, it must have at least 1 or 2 sentences explaining what that chart or diagram is saying. They cannot just give it to you and leave it there. You must be able to explain what it's saying. All right? Your findings must be supported by data. It must be supported by the data you collected, not your own opinion. They're not doing the research to get the answer they think it is. So when they're presenting the data, it must be when they presented their findings, it must be from the data they've collected and not from opinion that they have. What they did find out from the research is what should be presented in the data. All right. The recommendation for changes, improvements, and further studies should provide a better understanding of the topic. It must be realistic and based on findings. So any recommendation, they must be able to tie that back to the data. This is what I found out, and this is what I'm recommending to improve based on the data. And it also must be tied back to the purpose of the research, must also be tied back to your research findings and questions. And then we have the final section, the communication of the information, referencing style, as I said earlier, APA style, use in-text citation and references, look at their writing skill and the project layout. And in the presentation of the project, they cannot forget the principles that they learned in the EDPM throughout. So they must have the correct margins, correct spacing, correct paragraph alignment, correct split, all of those things. Align and division of words must be followed, how they write numerals, numbers, and how they do punctuations. All of that still apply within the research paper. It must be seen, evident that they are competent in that area in their presentation of the research. Chapter 18 of the Macmillan text also gives a very good outline of how to follow the research. Give some tips as well. So that's a good thing for you to help, a good resource for you to add in addition to the resources that are provided within the syllabus itself. I'm going to just go quickly. There are some differences between the qualitative and the quantitative research. The quantitative research gathers mathematical and statistical data. So you find if you're doing a quantitative research, there are going to be a lot of numbers that you're dealing with. The research instruments, main research instruments that you can use at this level would be closed-ended questionnaires or experiments. Now, closed-ended questionnaires mean that the possible answers that the respondents can select is already on the questionnaire. So a good example I like to tell my students as an example of a closed-ended questionnaire, their multiple choice paper. If you give a person a questionnaire that looks like a multiple choice paper, this is the question, here are 4 possible answers, and allow them to select. That is a closed-ended questionnaire. And all you're doing when you're analyzing that now is counting up how many person says A for question was. I gave out 12 questionnaires. Out of the 12, for number 1, first question, how many of them how many of the respondents selected A? So it may be 4 out of the 12 selected A, 3 out of the 12 selected B, none selected C. So you're using mathematical and statistical data when you're doing the quantitative research, and you're using the qualitative approach to the research. The other method is the qualitative. Now, with the qualitative research, you're looking to make a report. So you're taking a lot of notes. When you're doing your research, you have an interview, you're taking your notes, and you're compiling what is the overall common thing each person is telling you when you have concluded your interviews. So the research instruments that you may find for a qualitative research, an open-ended questionnaire. Now, open-ended questionnaire is a questionnaire similar to the paper 2, where you have a question and you have some lines and they fill in what their viewpoint based on the question. So that's the difference between the two. The closed-ended, the answers are already on this paper. This possible response that you want is already on the sheet. The open-ended one, they're giving you their opinion of whatever the question that you asked. So there's going to be a lot of writing that you will have to read through and decide what are the common things. I gave 12 open-ended questionnaires. What are the common things are they saying about the school? You may talk, maybe okay, are they investigating the school cafeteria? And they may ask, what are the best lunches offered by the school cafeteria? And you're looking and everybody writes. Some may say hamburger, some may say patty, some may say chicken. And you're looking to see what are the common things. So after that, the common lunch, preferred lunch from the school cafeteria is hamburger, based on what is given. Another research instrument, qualitative interviews, surveys, and all these must be open-ended, right? Observations, you're observing how many students go to the cafeteria. You have a checklist or you have an observation sheet. You just stand by the cafeteria and observe what is happening. What are they purchasing most? What's being purchased most? You make an observation. All right. Using a checklist as well is another tool that can be used. All right. So let me go back there. So these are the questions, the possible. At this level, we don't need the students to do any more than this. All right. Simple closed-ended questionnaire if you're doing a quantitative research, open-ended questionnaire, an interview, a checklist, or observation to gather the data that they need. No more than 20, and that's a lot. So 12 to 20 will be good. So we're not doing a first degree research nor a master's research. It's a simple introduction to research. Now we're going to look at the other component of the SBA, which is the portfolio. This is what most of us are familiar with, the portfolio. There are only a few changes in the number of documents that they have to produce. Now, it must include a cover page, table of content, 9 sample pieces, and I'm going to go through the sample pieces. And those sample pieces can be found on page 44 and 45 of the syllabus. And also it must include a reference. Now, if they're taking sample pieces for argument, let's suppose they use a Macmillan text and they took a letter that they saw in the text and they reproduced in the letter. They need to have a reference to say where they get this piece from. So in their reference should indicate that they took a piece from the Macmillan EDPM text. Practice the students to give credit to where they get these resources from, right? So they need to have a reference as well. The elements of the portfolio, we have the tabular work using spreadsheet software, 2 pieces. So I think you have a rule table there and a financial document. We also have a rule table of financial. So I have 1 rule table, one financial document, and the syllabus do specify the requirement for that rule table. So I think it's an oblique heading and a ruled table as well. So look at what is required from the syllabus. You have committee document, 1 sample from a committee document, 2 display documents 2 samples, 1 legal sample, the presentations using a presentation software, and this one is based on the research. So after they've completed the work, they cannot do this PowerPoint presentation until they would have completed the research, because they must have now a presentation based on the data of their research. So it's as if they can look at it as, okay, I did this research, I'm going to present my research to the classmate. I need this amount of slides, and the syllabus do indicate how many slides they're required to have, and they're making a short presentation using a presentation software. It doesn't have to be Microsoft software. You can use any presentation software that they're comfortable with. You also have a sample using data management and database management software that must include a simple query and a report. You have a mail merge as well, 1 sample. So we count that, you'll see is 9 sample pieces in addition to the cover page, table of content, and the reference. So the final section I'm looking at now is some instructional techniques in addition to what is already provided to you in the syllabus. I just wanted to point out, some simple ones. Some of you may be familiar with. There are a lot of techniques, instructional techniques that you can Google online. I find this one is a one that, could help our students make sure they're presenting mailable document. Remember that the sample pieces that they provide must be free of any error, no grammatical, no spacing error, no error whatsoever, no presentation error. Must be in those documents. They must be mailable. No, there's a list of criteria that they must be achieved in order for that document to be mailable. And if you look in the syllabus, it talks about no grammatical error, spacing, line and division of lines, how they do the spell out the word, the numerical in the documents. So you make a checklist and use a peer audit system. So you pair off your students, and after they've completed any activity, they're going to review each other. They're going to look at mark each other's script to indicate whether or not it's mailable. And if it's mailable, they'll indicate. If it's not, they're now responsible to tell their colleague what is the error, what error have they found in that piece of work. And that's help them to think and also help them to learn. Because when they're doing this, they're also realizing, oh, this is a part of having a mailable document. So when they're presenting or preparing their own piece of work, they will look to see that it is a mailable piece of work they're presenting to you. We also have demonstration of knowledge. Allow them sometimes to be, you sit down and you allow them to do the presentation to the class. Who wants to teach us how we do a PowerPoint presentation? Who wants to talk about making a flyer? All right, how can we make a flyer? You may just think about using a Microsoft suite to make a flyer. They may be able to come up with a software that they can use to make a flyer. So allow them to see how many of them will be willing to do a presentation. Or everybody in your class will not be willing or have the tenacity to stand in front of the classroom to make a presentation, but they have some that will. Where they are willing, allow them. Also, as I said, some of them may be willing to do a teacher for the day. One other thing you can do also is critique. Have critiques every time they finish a piece of work, stick it on a notice board or on the blackboard and let them go around and look at it and then explain what they think, what did they see, what they did not see, what they were looking for that was not visible, right? Without being critical, yes, but critical without criticizing that you make others in the class feel bad, in a good way, fostering that team spirit within them. Problem-solving activities, use real-world scenarios. Most of the time, we like to tell them to go look at the textbook page, so-and-so, reproduce what is in the textbook. Give them a scenario and see what they will come up with to provide a piece for their work. And do a digital scavenger hunt. A digital scavenger hunt is like you asking them to give them a particular topic and allow them to come back and tell, okay, where I want to see what year was Princess Margaret School in Antigua established. And they have to do that as a research, and you're going to provide a finder with a screenshot of a nameplate of the school with the established date on it. So they're searching the internet for the answer for that particular question. That's just an example. Is that you would probably look a more practical example for your class. But you're sending them on a digital scavenger now to look for answers. And just like what I remember at the start of this, before we start the presentation today, Mr. Holder was asking me, my bio is so short. Now, I tend to do short bios. And I send the attendees, you want to learn more about me? Do that digital scavenger hunt. Put my name into Google and see what Google tell you. Make sure you put the whole name and tell you, and Google will tell you a lot about what I've done, what I've accomplished. You'll find it right there. So I don't need to come here and spend 5-10 minutes reading a long bio. I'll send you on the scavenger hunt. All right? And my final slide is to thank you for taking the opportunity for being here. My information is there. As I said, my name, if you're going to do the scavenger hunt, leave out the Y, just Jacqueline Peters Richardson. Do the scavenger hunt. My email address. If you need any question, need me to answer any question you have, you can send me an email. Both numbers there, WhatsApp numbers. I have an Antigua number and an Anguilla number. I'm originally from Antigua, but I now live and work in Anguilla, so I still have both numbers. They are WhatsApp. Your WhatsApp messages is between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. You will not get an answer from me before 7 a.m. and definitely will not get an answer after 7 p.m. Whether I read that or not, you will not get an answer. So have no problem with you sending me emails or WhatsApp questions if you need clarification. Like someone sent me last week or 2 weeks ago to ask me if they can use Canva as part of the presentations to for EDPM. Yes, you can. You can use Canva as a present to make flyers or whatever the invitation, menu cards. They can use Canva to make their presentation. All right, to do their portfolio pieces. And here ends my presentation. I think we're at the point now for questions and answers.
Thank you so very much, Doc. Even I learned a couple things here. I have my notepad. There were some questions that came up that are coming up rather still within the chat. Most of it has to do with whether or not the text could have been available or the application of it could have been made available for the 2027 CXE exams, albeit that we were already in full steam ahead for the 2026 exams. I'm not sure if you were able to touch on that.
I think the syllabus, the first exam is for 2026. All right, if I'm not mistaken, yes. The syllabus refers, the first exam for this new syllabus is 2026, which is this year. So hence the reason why the book is properly timed to meet that.
Another question that came up was related to the SBA aspect of it, which we know usually comes before the actual exams. And someone questioned whether or not the approach taken to the SBA, based on the old approach, would be applicable or would rather or somehow be disqualified because of the new expected approach based on the new syllabus.
No, you have to have it for 2026. You should have the new syllabus, the new SBA, because based on the CSEC syllabus, it is required for you to do research and the portfolio for the 2026 exam.
All right. There's some. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, Doc, but there are some questions popping up in there now. I see Anne-Marie Bailey just dropped one in there, speaking to the portfolio.
I can. How can you produce the portfolio? Oh, yes. The Macmillan text, I don't remember what page is it now, do give you a step-by-step guidance on how to merge it into one document. Let me see if I can find a page. But you can, page 308 in the Macmillan, the new Macmillan text, do give you directions of how to compile all of it into one mail merge document. And it's only one document you're presented to CXC for each student. So yes, it's there on page. You are going to get a free, as Mr. Holder indicated, you after the end of this session today, you're going to have access for a period of time to the text. So I would encourage you to look at page 304, 308, and you'll see how is it. All right.
Screenshot for the database.
No, you have to present the date. You have to present. You can print your outcome as PDF. I'm sorry about that. The light behind me all of a sudden decided to be flickering. I don't know why, but that's another thing. Yes, you're supposed to be able to share. Print your stuff to a PDF document or copy and paste it to a Word document. Or you can do a screenshot. Yes, you should be able to do a screenshot of it and include it in your Finder. But if I were you, I'll save it as a PDF and merge it different PDFs into one. For the PowerPoint presentation, save the PowerPoint presentation as a PDF document and merge. So you may have at the end 10, 12 different PDF documents, but you can end up merging it into one PDF document to upload. The thing with doing screenshots sometimes, it increases it comes up as photos. And you know, a lot of photos in the document make the size of the document large. All right. And I don't remember the size of your document that must be uploaded. I don't remember that's the size, but there's a maximum size for a document to be uploaded. And
I think it's 5 megabytes.
If you're going to use screenshot, it must be easily read. Can we use the option of a zip folder? That should still be an option, but I know they're pushing for the PDF, one document. Sometimes with the zip folder, persons make their folder too large, and then you cannot get it uploaded to the CXC platform, the ORS platform. So be careful with that. The presentation, the PowerPoint presentation is a summary of it. Yes, it is. It is a summary of the research project. Yes, you can compress the zip file, yes. Then the 226 zip folder, it is this presentation. Okay, I'm losing some of the design view. According to the syllabus. The design view, yes. You have to make sure that you're familiar with what it is the syllabus is asking for. It indicates in the syllabus what view of the database they want to see. All right. For the mail merge, they want the data source, they want the document and the merge document as well. Okay, I'm missing some of the questions. The questions popping in so fast, I'm not able to read as fast. Can you group students for the portfolio as well? No, for the portfolio, the portfolio have to do their individual pieces. The group can go for the research, but the portfolio, they need to do the individual pieces. Because they need to know that skill. So when they go into the exam room itself, they understand how to create a mail merge. If they get a mail merge on the exam, they must know how to do these. Each sample of a mark scheme, there's a sample of each piece at the back of the syllabus with a mark scheme. All right, a sample mark scheme. Please do not give the students that sample at the back of the SB to regenerate for CXC. Don't do that. Please do not use the AI to generate these SB. CXC had a webinar last semester about their do's and don'ts with AI. Be careful. Be careful. All right. Yes. Careful with the AI. Yes. You can use Google Forms for a questionnaire. Yes, you can. You can use Google Forms so that it gathers Google Form or any other online platform. They can send a link out to whoever. Your QR code. They could have us display in front of their class with a QR code. Their classmates come, scan the QR code. The QR code takes them to the questionnaire. They fill it out right there. At the back end, you get all the data already in an Excel format. You can get all the charts, diagrams already done for you. That is allowed. And that is incorporating the use of the 21st century skills. Please, we refrain from too much of this AI, because there's a means of detecting whether or not these things were done by AI. You do not want your student to be penalized. AI is good. They can look at it to get ideas, but they need to bring their own creativity into it, their own thoughts, their own perspective. So do not just put into AI, create a mail word for 5 persons who are to be parents to be invited to a PTA and let AI generate it. No, don't let them do that. Please make sure they don't do that. They need to learn the skill. And that's a problem. AI is good, and that's a problem. I do use AI, but you have to know what prompts to give AI. And if somebody give me an AI generated document, I'm going to be able to tell you that this is coming from AI just by looking at certain cues on it. So be careful with that, please. 3 students can work together to produce one research, but there must be a way for you to know that each student have contributed to the final product. If 3 is in a group and only 2 work, the third one should not be awarded a mark for that project. So you have to be able to monitor. Each of them must be able to tell you what they are doing for the research. Use 2 formulas. I'm not understanding. Use 2 formulas for what? I'm not sure. That question, could you clarify that question for me, please? Asking AI to correct spelling, grammar is kind of taken away from the purpose of EDPM. For those of you who started from EDPM, is a genesis from typewriting. And you had to be learning how to be able to pick up your own errors, because a lot of them use the default setting for the production tools. Default setting for Word, we go by that. But if you look at what CSEC is asking for EDPM, the default setting for Microsoft is not the required settings for EDPM. It's Time New Roman 12, single line spacing. But if you open a Word document, you realize, and it goes to Calvary, I think it is 11, 1.5, 1.15 spacing as automatic. And students will use that. I see people in the workplace using that. And even some of my own colleagues, when they bring documents to me, I forget about, okay, I cannot be marking their paper like they work like a EDPM work. Or I go to a function, I'm reading through the booklet, the paraphernalia or the outline, the program, and then they're correcting it like if I'm correcting paper. Because there's certain skills that you need to have and they need to have. So do not allow them to do it strictly on AI. Can you sorry, somebody asked about contact. I didn't get that last question. Let me put back up that slide so that for the benefit of those who may want it. Hopefully I can still see the chat.
You should be.
All right, for the benefit of those who are asking for the contact information, I'm putting it back on the screen. What did I just press? I just pressed something. Oh. No, I'm not seeing the chat now. I pressed something that stopped me from seeing the chat. Bring it back up. Oh, there we go. The questions are coming so fast and furious, I'm not able to read them. Someone had a question about the legal document. The format for indented style semi-block are different in this text. Is this new format for the print these documents? No, you maintain the format that we know for semi-block and indented style remains the same. It has not changed. I must look at what you're referring to in the test. Can you give me a page number where you saw that? If one student did not perform with the group, that one student will not be awarded the marks for the SBA. When marking the sum, each mark scheme is uploaded with the. You don't have to upload a mark scheme. You just upload the student sample with whatever was awarded. Or answering by the mark scheme. Yes, you have to align, like when you're marking the student portfolio, you must have the mark scheme, what marks were awarded. Those marks will go in differently. When you go on to the ORS, it gives you an opportunity to put in the marks and an opportunity to upload the sample. No, it's not IT, but you're required to do formula sheet. One of the reasons why I believe that that database is there, because a lot of time EDPM teachers do not teach database because it's not widely tested. So it's here now that will encourage you. If you're going to teach data sheet, they have to show a formula, or even Excel, the formula sheet. They need to know how to use the formula when they're using Excel, how to use those formula sheets. Because when they go to the workplace, it's one of the skills that will help them in the workplace as well. What is the deadline? The deadline for the SBA is the CXC deadline. I think I saw for CSEC April, was it 10th or 11th? Some early date in April for the CSEC. SBA is June. It may not be IT. If you look at IT right now, you'll find that IT gone more theory-based, looking at more generating app scientific.
Yeah, IT has evolved into more programming and robotics rather than just the basic IT that we would have learned as youngsters.
Yes, it is.
It is. So those skill set that the students need to work on a day-to-day basis in an office environment, in the university when they go on to study, has to be taught to them. And EDPM, and I don't see, we're not going into deep IT cover. It's a simple database, simple things they're asking to do. They're not going into IT, and IT has evolved, that they're only doing a lot of programming. Is not the same like how it used to be before. Legal was a contract or employment. However, students have the option of creating a contract of employment or hire. Yes, they do. They have an option. It's an option. It's only one piece. So they choose between the contract or hire purchase or lease or will. There's a choice. The syllabus indicate they're doing either or, not both. Well, what it is that you're lost about? You need to explain what you're lost. Someone indicated that they're more lost, but I don't know where you lost. You have my information on the screen. So if you think you need me to explain to you differently, reach out.
Doc, I see two hands raised. Olivia Williams and two other individuals have their hands up. I'm not sure if
Are they able to speak?
I presume that they should be.
Okay.
Can you both, can the three of you pop your questions in the chat box so that Doc can respond to it? I think Olivia's hands went up first.
Have they put in the questions?
I can't say that they have as yet.
All right, see, somebody sending you SB is confusing. I know the first time out the block will be is confusing. The textbook is available at your local bookstores. And I believe Alex should be able to speak more on that one.
Yes, the textbooks have been made available to the bookstores already, and for some territories, particularly I know for sure here in Barbados and some of the ACS islands, the textbooks would have been made available via the bookstores, but also samples would have been made available to the ministry. But everyone in the call today or in the webinar today will receive an email subsequent to the call, which will give them access to the digital copy of the textbook. That text will last for 1 month, which will give you time to, of course, source your physical copy at your discretion. On top of that, I would have added to the chat a little earlier a link, well, rather a document with a link that will allow for teachers to access a teacher's guide. So a lot of what Dr. Richardson would have spoken about today will be in the teacher's guide to help you navigate through the new texts and the changes and the expectations that are coming from CXC and how we deliver EDPM going forward. So a lot of the questions that I see here now are addressed within the teacher's guide. Give it some time. When you go through it, you'll find that you'll find most of the answers to your questions from there. And of course, Dr. Richardson would have made her contact information available to everyone who would wish to contact her directly, which is also an option. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't mind as long as it's before 7 o'clock p.m.
Yes, please. I don't mind.
I
I just want
want
to explain something here as well.
A lot of I see a few comments in the chat asking questions from the perspective of CXC. Neither Alex nor myself are here today to represent CXC. We are here representing Macmillan Publishers. I'm here from the perspective that I've worked with CXC on several syllabus, several course outlines, several resources. And from my history or my knowledge in working with EDPM, we cannot answer questions specifically on CXC intent, CXC thinking. No, we're not here to do that. We cannot answer those kind of questions. We can only focus from the Macmillan perspective. This is Macmillan way of helping you get a better understanding of the new syllabus as presented. And since I've worked on this text with Macmillan, I was selected to do this presentation. I cannot speak on, I do not work for CXC. I cannot speak on DP. I work with them, but not in the capacity to give direct information on their intent. I know when we see something new, it's always a resistance to things that are new. I know that teachers around the region think that CXC is giving them more of the work to do. That is for a different forum, not this particular forum, unfortunately. All right. Those of you who think the time is too short or you need more assistance, reach out. We probably can work out doing another session at another time when you need more help. And I'm open to that. Or send me your questions. I'll try and answer them as much as I can. Or set up another time where we can sit and chat and go through what you need to review or what you need clear understanding. I know the same thing happened when the new POB syllabus came out. There's a resistance, people not sure, the uncertainty is the issue, but we can work it out. We work it out and the results of EDPM will still shine. As usual, it has a great pass rate throughout the Caribbean, and it will remain that way, even with the change. All right. Let me see. There's nothing on the syllabus about screenshotting and all that. It's not in the syllabus. Someone asked that question. The link.
And for clarity on the screenshotting, it's important to know that as long as the information is legible and it's not overly, I guess pixelated, and the file size is manageable, then it can be accepted, because equally someone can recreate the screenshot in like a spreadsheet or something, as opposed to that. But as long as it's legible and it makes sense, then I believe that it will be accepted, per Doc's explanation earlier.
Right. All right, so some persons. It's now overwhelming for me as a teacher. I understand persons being overwhelmed, especially with the research component. And that was my comment with the research component. I know that is going to be the most difficult part in this new SBA for the teachers. But as I said, I'm willing to give some guidance. Try and see if you can team up with a colleague that have the background knowledge, and we'll make it through. At the end of the day, when those results come out, you're going to be patting yourself on the back. Believe me. I know there's a lot of questions in the chats. I know many of them may not be answered because before I can read the question properly, another one pops up, so I can't get to see all of the question. In terms of the cost of the text, I don't know if Alex knows what is the cost of the text.
The cost of the text is relative to the market. I believe the EC cost versus the Barbados cost versus the Jamaica cost. It's relative to the bookstores. So that's why I dropped a link in earlier. For anyone who's interested in finding it, I'll drop it again. They can click that link and they will see where on their specific islands they can find the text, and they'll know the cost.
So
Alex, when you're sending the resources to them by email, can the link be provided as well so that those who missed it in this chat?
Oh yes, when the link is sent via email for them to access, for everyone attending now to access the digital version or copy of the text, they will also be able to access the information for the local booksellers, which to whom they can reach out to and get costing. But to my understanding, it should not be any different or much different from the existing cost of the existing text, which is the first edition.
All right. So I know there are many
may not have got all their questions answered, but you still can send them to me and I will answer them. I want to thank you. Some general formatting information such as margins, paragraph spacing. See, before I finish reading that question, it's moving. Let me see. Formatting, spacing. Specific to the textbook, no. I would say go through it. You will have other resources. You will have to use other resources. There's no one textbook that's going to provide you with all the information that you need. Macmillan have done its best to provide as much of the information as possible, but you will do need a resource. I always tell teachers, if you have one of those old-time typewriting texts, for stuff in terms of formatting, go back to it. I always keep a copy. I still have a copy of the typewriting text itself, because a lot of extra assignments that are still applicable today can be received from those books, and also the information detailed to the formatting. I can also look for it and send it to you. I should have something on my system that I can share with you as well if you need it. Is there a register? Alex will be able to take the register in the background. No, you had to register to join this session, so there is a register.
Yes, everyone who would have registered to join the session, well, everyone online right now, will receive a certificate of participation in this, and they will also receive a copy of a link rather, to access the digital copy of the text. And I would have dropped in earlier, well, a couple of times, I believe, a copy of the access code for the teacher's resource. So most of what Dr. Richardson would have spoken about, and some of the questions that I would have seen come up in the chat are answered in the teacher's resource.
Right.
I will do it again just for good measure, just to make sure, just in case someone might have missed it. I am dropping it now. Teacher's resource is available, and just follow the instructions on the flyer, and you will be able to access it. Do we have any other? Well,
that question about the access database, that is something that the institution will have to address.
All right. Someone say it's still not working. I send it to them via email so that they can get it, because someone is saying it's still not working.
Okay, what we can do is when we send the certificate as well as the other information, we'll make sure that the team adds the teacher's resource as well to that so that everyone can have it there.
Yes, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you for the question. Thank you
for your presence. Thank you for the interaction, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm always available, as I said, to offer some further assistance where necessary. And I'm looking forward to the success we will all have at the end when the results come out. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We're going to get it covered. We're going to get it done.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming out as well and taking the time out to go through the material, and success to everyone at CXE. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening, everyone.